Hello, I'd like to share with you my experience with long COVID. On January 3rd, 2020, this virus hit me like a truck and I ended up in bed. Usually, if I had been sick or had an injury, I would bounce right back, but this one really threw me. It was not like any other illness I'd ever experienced. It didn't feel like flu or pneumonia. And when I went to bed fairly quickly after I felt it, I started coughing and could not stop. The coughing became chronic spasms of coughing, and I'd try to catch my breath between the explosions. Every time I took a deep breath, it would trigger it once again, and there would be like a waterfall of hacking. Medicines in the house didn't make any difference at all. I even tried my grandson's extra inhaler, and that did nothing. By the time it was clear that I needed to go to the hospital, it was too late, and I just lay in bed, unable to form a sentence and unable to stop coughing. I finally realized the only way to get through the night was to use shallow breaths repeatedly and not take any more deep breaths at all. I made it through the next morning and proceeded to get sicker with other symptoms beginning to appear. I continued shallow breathing for as long as I could. Other symptoms I ended up with that appeared over time were brain fog, memory loss, difficulty walking, difficulty breathing, lack of stamina, flare-ups of arthritis and psoriasis, an itchy rash that covered my arms and legs, spiking blood pressure, hearing irregularities, heart irregularities, pain in my extremities, insomnia, persistent headaches, confusion driving, getting lost on my way home, vision changes, sensitivity to bright light, and greatly worsened dark night vision. This continued, and I got tested for everything in my body, and they all came up negative. For 3.5 years, though I rarely had good days, there were good moments. I believed if I just rested when I needed to and got up only if I felt like it, I would gradually get better. It wasn't so much the symptoms that were scary, but the pieces of my life that disappeared. Creams and ointments managed the rash on my arms and legs, and that lasted for a year, but the brain fog made it hard to speak in sentences or spell familiar words, or manage money, or take medication and remember I'd taken it 5 minutes earlier. Getting dressed took me forever. My routines were gone. Sometimes I could not find my way home from the grocery store, or add 3 numbers, or cook a meal, or make it up a flight of stairs, or lift a coffee cup. There was not a moment that I wasn't tired, and even sitting still, my legs would hurt and start to tingle. Holding up my phone, which felt extremely heavy, made my hands go numb. My husband fell sick shortly after I did, and he too dealt with overwhelming effort it required both of us to take care of each other. By the second year, when COVID had a name, a reputation, and a test, and isolation, we had aged at least 10 years and had workups of every part of our bodies with MRIs, CAT scans, heart and lung evaluations, IQ tests, counseling, allergy tests. And I'd qualified, except for one last test, to join a clinical trial for Alzheimer's disease. According to those tests, there was nothing wrong with my body beyond normal wear and tear. I'd been very active for 3/4 of a century. Now I was old, disoriented, and I still coughed and still found it hard to breathe. I was finally sent to pulmonary rehabilitation twice a week, surrounded by a team of therapists who monitored my heart and lungs and had a consult with a dietitian who pronounced my diet cleaner than she'd ever witnessed and who said I should eat more. By October of 2023, I tried to make a will and couldn't organize my thoughts enough to do it. I prepared my family for what seemed to be in store for both of us. Even the advanced directives were beyond my stamina. Since we'd been sick, I'd not had the strength or clarity to organize old files and art supplies. It was all we could do just to clean the kitchen. It was well beyond me to tell someone else what should be tended to. Fortunately, 2 grown grandchildren had moved in with us and did their schoolwork and helped out until we felt secure enough to send them back to their real lives. They didn't leave our house for 2 years. I heard about Rebecca Kennedy last October only because I had surveyed the nurses and doctors I was seeing to see what they knew about COVID support groups or advances in some treatment options. When the name Rebecca Kennedy came up on both sides of the river in 2 different medical centers, I determined I was going to find her. When I did, we met within a week. The first thing she did was ask me what I needed, and as I explained the entire situation, and how healthy I'm supposed to be, and that I'm never worse, I'm just going on unable to do anything, she listened very carefully. This kind of amazed me. When she responded, what I learned from her in 20 minutes made sense right away. She backed it up with pages of references, some of them articles peer-reviewed in medical journals, and names of other people looking into the phenomena of mind-body connections. She did not suggest that what I was dealing with was a mystery. She told me she had an idea exactly what was likely going on. I will not try to paraphrase what she conveyed to me, except that I could tell intuitively that she was correct. It made perfect sense. My impression when I listened was that getting very sick with COVID and trying to recover was traumatic in the acute stage, and my entire body had gone on into ongoing emergency response. My autoimmune system was sending danger signals to my brain, and the brain was responding with appropriate stimuli to deal with the new disease. Because I was so sick and had stopped breathing normally and switched to shallow breathing for 3 years and could not exercise, my different systems could not find my previous healthy rhythms and behaviors. For the past 3 years and counting, my brain kept responding with pain messages and bodily responses in different places, different days, that came and went, resulting in sensations that would warrant medical attention. Because I was scared of getting worse, I kept responding to the feelings I was having by my own alarm at seeing myself unable to function. Dr. Kennedy gave me a set of exercises, none of which required physical exertion, focus, or even standing up. They involved writing, meditation, relaxation, and an attitude I needed to adopt to retrain my brain. It was simply accepting COVID as a time in my life when I was hit hard physically, mentally, and in every other aspect of my life. I needed to retrain my brain to calm down and stop pulling the alarm. When I felt symptoms, I could notice them, and then I should accept them with a grain of salt and calmly carry on so my brain could learn new patterns, or really the old ones it had set aside when COVID changed the rules. That, in turn, would let my autoimmune system calm down and settle into a more normal way of monitoring problems in my body. That made sense to me, and when I tried it, I began to feel a little better right away. And in 2 weeks, I felt I was the person I had been before. I could begin to exercise, worked with a treadmill and resistance bands twice a week. And by the 10th week, I could walk 2 miles and carry on a conversation. Dr. Kennedy provided a weekly group with others battling long COVID. By the conclusion of the classes in December, I felt certain I was on my way to possibly a full recovery. Now, 4 years beyond contracting COVID, I can go for brisk walks, take care of our house, get down and play with my grandson on the floor. I bought a rowing machine and I have been having fun with it. I have my life back and I look forward to the next adventure. Meanwhile, there's a pile of books about the mind-body connection waiting to be read because I've found that Dr. Kennedy's techniques work really well improving other aspects of my life. Nobody knows how many people suffer from long COVID. Those who got sick prior to the naming of the virus still have diagnoses of pneumonia, flu. Estimates suggest 14% of people counted as COVID patients have long COVID. And those who have had the virus and have not been counted but no longer can work or function in the mainstream, likely number in the hundreds of thousands. There is no systematic way to let these people know about alternative approaches to what is still viewed as a medical issue with a lack of medical solutions. I hope if you know someone, and probably you do, that you will share this information and suggest they get in touch. Try information at resilience-health.com. Thanks.